I never meant to stay as long as I did. There was this inexplicable pull, like the strings of some malevolent puppeteer were tugging at my soul. Could have left, should have left. But I stayed, hypnotized by something I couldn't even name. The decision was mine, and it was the last mistake I'd ever make. The sky hung overhead like a shroud, devoid of rain or sleet, only an abyss of formless dark and misty clouds. A monolithic building loomed before me, as though it were a sentinel to some forbidden realm. My feet moved over the asphalt, a hurried walk, never a run. After all, why rush toward your own nightmare? The parking lot was a wasteland, hardly deserving of the name. Moss and grime had claimed it long ago, yet it still bore the weight of my footsteps as if mocking the concrete jungles of civilization. Ascending the stairs, a sudden gust of wind tangled my hair, as if whispering secrets meant only for the damned. The key turned in the ancient lock with a screech, like the wailing of some forgotten spirit. The doors creaked open to reveal a cavernous space, its walls adorned with antique clocks whose tick-tocking filled the air like the footsteps of lurking entities. The previous owner, a husk of a man trapped in his own temporal prison, had somehow endured this cacophony. But even he had limits, and the clock's relentless march had long since become background noise, like the muted screams of some far-off nightmare. I stood before the grand staircase, its steps leading up into a void of darkness, framed only by the hazy outlines of bookshelves and barred windows. An elaborate portrait of the old man hung between two towering clocks. His eyes were full of a fierce resolve, as though he had wrestled with the abyss and lived to tell the tale. A desk cluttered with tomes of arcane lore and dark secrets sat beneath a ceiling that seemed to stretch infinitely upward. A chandelier dangled precariously, its candles untouched by flame for eons, as if afraid to shed light on the room's hidden corners. Taking the stairs 2 at a time, I ascended into the darkness, leaving behind the ground floor as one might leave behind a dream or a nightmare. But just as I began to feel the illusion of safety, the jarring sound of a phone alarm shattered the silence. My cheeks flushed with an embarrassment that had no audience, as if the very walls were laughing at my folly. There was no turning back now. My role had shifted from a mere spectator to the night watcher of this damned abode. Room by room I checked for intruders, though each space seemed to be a world of its own, a mix of the mundane and the monstrous, where reality twisted and warped in the flicker of shadows. Suddenly, a crow's caw reverberated through the corridors, snapping me out of my introspection. How it got here, I didn't know. But the crow, like me, had become a prisoner of this malevolent manor. Ascending another flight of stairs, I found a door ajar, a room I had never seen closed. It was as if the house itself had decided to unveil its final secret.